This is Managing Extreme Student Behaviors by Emma Griffin at Texas A&M University for the course EDCI 636, Educator as a Researcher with Dr. Cheryl Craig. The purpose of this research is to determine the most effective strategies used by experienced educators for managing extreme student behaviors. This study aims to answer two questions related to extreme student behaviors. Number one is, what are the most effective strategies used by experienced educators for managing extreme behaviors in the elementary classroom? Number two is, how does social emotional learning act as an intervention for extreme behaviors in the elementary classroom? For the literature in this article, I chose to review the article Trauma in the Classroom, Effective Strategies for Extreme Behavior by Julie D. Keel. In this article, the author states that when trauma-affected students enter school without the proper supports, teachers can burn out, classroom safety is at risk, and academic performance suffers. This is because there's a direct link between trauma or adverse childhood experiences and behavior. In order to investigate how to help and prevent these extreme behaviors, the researcher focused on the question, what do experienced educators use as the most effective strategies for behavior management in the kindergarten classroom with an increase in students entering school with multiple ACEs? The theoretical framework of this study focuses on Maslow's motivational theory. This theory was proposed in 1943 and consists of a 5-tier model of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. These tiers consist of physiological needs, safety needs, love and belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. In this framework, the lower needs must be met before higher needs can be met, and all needs must be met in order for learning to occur. The conceptual framework of this study focuses on the Multiplying Connections Initiative, which is based on Dr. Bruce Perry's brain and trauma research. This framework includes strategies that allow schools to best provide a positive and nurturing environment for children. These strategies can be identified as calm, attuned, present, predictable, and don't escalate. The research method for this article included a case study model in which 5 kindergarten classrooms in a suburban area were examined. The focus of the research was to identify the best practices of experienced classroom teachers for managing extreme behaviors. The case study involved interviews, observations, and focus groups. Throughout this article, the author discusses related literature, methodology, analysis of data, and conclusions. For the purposes of this article review, I'll only focus on Chapter 5, Conclusions, Implications, and Recommendations. In this chapter, the author discusses the results of the study and what this means for the education system. The research indicated that behavior has increased over the past 5 years, and there's a direct link to trauma in students. This not only impacts those students, but also affects the teachers, peers, administrators, and other school officials. In order to reduce extreme behavior in the classroom, there are several strategies that teachers can employ. One strategy recommended by Keel that teachers may use for the management of extreme behaviors in the classroom is through parent-teacher relationships. The classroom must also be a safe, welcoming place and should follow a predictable structure and repetitive routine and schedule in order to ensure procedures and expectations are known. Teachers must stay aware of the needs of their students in order to individualize and meet their specific behavior needs. Teachers should still hold high academic and behavioral expectations for all students. Additionally, support beyond the classroom may be necessary for success. Teachers and students need to be supported by guidance counselors, administrators, behavioral specialists, and other agencies. The next piece of literature that I reviewed was Effects of an Explicit Curriculum on Social Emotional Competency in Elementary and Middle School Students by Jennifer L. Wallander, Adam L. Ebel, Carol V. Pequeen, and M. Amanda Kane. In this article, the authors outline the importance of SEL and examine how an explicit SEL curriculum affects students. The authors share the perspective that social emotional learning is vital to students' development as it promotes the child's entire developmental process. It is stated that through SEL, educators can instill, recover, and repair universal, developmentally appropriate social emotional skills. This can lead to better health and prevent behavioral issues in children and adolescents. Throughout the article, the authors examine the different frameworks that are associated with SEL. These include Dimitrovic, Durlak, Staley, and Weiberg views on intrapersonal versus interpersonal skills. Jones and Kahn's views on cognitive skills, emotional competencies, and social interpersonal skills, and Eklund et al.'s view on self-awareness, social awareness, and responsible decision-making. Each of these frameworks act as the foundation for Bradshaw and Duong's Castle framework. The Castle framework, created by Bradshaw and Duong in 2019, seeks to foster knowledge, skills, and attitudes across 5 areas of social and emotional learning. One area of Castle includes self-awareness, or the ability to identify one's own emotions, thoughts, and values. Another aspect of Castle is self-management, or the ability to regulate one's own emotions, thoughts, and behaviors. The third focus of Castle is social awareness, or the ability to view different perspectives and empathize with them. Another key component of the Castle framework is relationship skills, which allow students to establish and maintain appropriate relationships with diverse individuals. The final component of the Castle framework is responsible decision-making, or the ability to make constructive choices. This approach emphasizes equitable learning environments, relationships, and coordinating practices. Using the Castle framework as a guide for teaching and learning social-emotional competencies allows educators to follow best practices. In the article, the authors outline the best practices for social-emotional teaching and instructional practices to be implementing student-centered discipline, creating a community of learners, allowing student choice and responsibility, holding high expectations, using specific praise and correction, allowing opportunities for students to self-reflect, and utilizing a school-based direct instruction program with specific lessons on SEL competencies. Using this background information, the authors conducted a study over the effects of an explicit SEL curriculum in elementary and middle school students. The method used to conduct this study was a quantitative approach that primarily follows the confirmatory scientific method because its focus is on hypothesis testing and theory testing. While consistently implementing a specific SEL curriculum, the researchers conducted field tests from students in kindergarten through 6th grade, which included data collection made through pre-test and post-test surveys of students. The results from this study showed no significant changes in student SEL competencies. However, this data may not be as accurate, as measuring SEL growth can be challenging. Due to these results, it's unknown if formalized SEL programs are necessary for every school. Educators are still encouraged to implement SEL practices in the classroom. Alternative options for SEL materials may include kernels, or evidence-based, low-cost strategies that have proven to effectively impact behavior, discipline, self-control, and emotional management. This study uses qualitative data from narrative inquiry. Qualitative research involves an interpretive, naturalistic approach to its subject matter. Qualitative researchers study things in their natural settings, attempting to make sense of or interpret phenomena in the terms of the meanings people bring to them. Narrative inquiry is a form of qualitative research in which a collection of narrative stories is used as raw data. The participants selected for this study represent a broad range of experienced educators. The first code is P0. This was a principal who has a master's in education and has been in the education system for 17 years. The next participant, code C0, is a current counselor, has obtained their master's of education and has been in the education career for 16 years. The third participant is code T2. This is a 2nd grade teacher who holds their Bachelor of Science and has been teaching for 13 years. The fourth participant, code T4, is a 4th grade teacher who has their Master's of Education and has been teaching for 11 years. Data in this narrative inquiry study was collected through open-ended interviews with participants. According to Patton, there are 3 basic approaches to collecting qualitative data through open-ended interviews. These include informal conversational interviews, standardized open interviews, and the general interview guide approach. This study used a general interview guide approach in which a basic outline of questions was used to guide the overall interview. In narrative inquiry studies, researchers often use narrative analysis for the analysis of qualitative data. Although there are several guidelines and processes for narrative analysis, there are no specific set of procedures. Researchers may utilize narrative thematic analysis, structural analysis, dialogic and performance analysis, or visual narrative analysis. This study uses a narrative thematic analysis in which the primary focus is the content within the text. The methods used in this study are as follows: organization and preparation of data, obtaining a general sense of the information, the coding process, which begins from raw data to open coding to selective coding, the categories or themes that emerge, and the interpretation of the data. Through the coding process, we were able to determine the findings of the study. We used the raw data from the interviews and the focus groups and observations in order to obtain data on the topic. As you can see here, data was then used to discover themes that emerged in the research. In this example, table 3.1, the coding shows the importance of family background and involvement. By collecting the raw data in which the participants shared their narrative inquiries and stories, the researchers were able to find common themes that emerged. This was then used for open coding and axial coding. Finally, the data underwent selective coding in which the overall theme was found. For this coding process, the selective coding discovered that relationships between teachers, family members, and students can impact behavior. This coding shows the importance of classroom environment and teacher strategies on behavior, which can both impact student behaviors. This coding shows the importance of external resources. Teachers need support from resources beyond the classroom. This coding shows the importance of social emotional learning and how it impacts behavior. One purpose of this study was to determine effective strategies for extreme student behaviors. Through the collection of qualitative data and narrative analysis, the themes that emerged are as follows: family background and involvement, classroom environment and teacher strategies, external resources, and social emotional learning. These are the references. Thank you all so much for watching.